relieve pressure on the different parts of the map and not worry about Uniboy.
Well, into Champ Select we go for our last game of Week 5. HKA going to be on blue side, AHQ over on red with green T and 0 helping out the draft. LeBlanc going to be banned away immediately from Uniboy. That's pretty standard when it comes to the drafts and bans against AHQ, as well as the Elise being banned out here against Hollow.
And we recently sort of found out that, you know, Aphelios is still that monster in the bottom side of the map. And therefore, AHQ will decide to not let that slip. And meanwhile, we see, you know, Set has been one of the picks for 3Z and Ziv. So potentially, maybe both of these teams would let that pick open up and opt for the usual Set Renekton matchup. And I feel like, you know, Ziv would be happy to take that Renekton instead.
So there you go. Zoe also being banned out here from the side of HKA, especially against Uniboy. AHQ have not been afraid to actually lock in the Zoe blind. Set, though, is going to be banned out, so that does allow Eminem, if he wishes to pick up the Misfortune immediately. There is still the Ornn available as well, and like you mentioned, the Renekton, so some options here for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, for sure. And with AHQ, Wacko has been playing a stellar performance on the Ezreal and Misfortune. But AHKA, if they do lock this in, that leaves open Misfortune for Wacko this time around.
There it is. So Ornn locked in. Now does AHQ decide to take the bait? Or do they want to go with a different option? There is the Callista, and especially with the Ornn already being shown, could be a counter pick up and toward the top lane. We have seen it once in the PCS. I don't know if Civ has played the matchup just yet, so is a bit of a flex pick available for the Callista, and the Syndra also going to get locked in here for Uniboy.
I really love these confident pickups from AHQ saying that we don't really mind. It's fine if you try to pick up a counter for Uniboy here. That's how confident AHQ is coming into this draft, locking their early carries. And now with AHQ, we'll see what they decide to pick up for Kongyue in the jungle, as I feel like that is the weakness of AHQ. You try to shut down AHQ's early game through that jungler, through Kongyue rather, and we've seen that before. That Nova Esports did. I think it was Ryan versus Kongyue at that time.
So we see Rek'Sai getting locked in here for Hong Kong Attitude. Now what do they wish to try and pick up here for possibly the AD carry? The Tristana is going to get locked in. So that's going to be, I believe, our first Tristana actually of the PCS.
It is our first Tristana, and this could be for Jimian. It does fit his playstyle. It works because especially if you get level 6, you just rocket jump in. Yeah, I'm not gonna believe any hovers at the moment.
I don't believe that. Okay. Oh, okay. That's still, again, a little bit of a new one coming out for AHQ, as the Maokai has been seeing a surge of popularity over the past week or two.
Okay, Tristana. It does fit Jimian's all-in kind of playstyle, but in a different form as the AD carry. I mean, it does work because of that rocket jump, so it fits. Meanwhile, on Maokai, we've seen it been flexed as the support role, so we will have to see, as there's a ton of flexes here and there for AHQ. Again, we did mention Callista can be flexed up top. This is rather turning into an interesting draft of, you know, the mind games of who is going where.
Yeah, we see the Blitzcrank actually being banned out there, so it looks like AHQ don't want to get any wacky ideas. Trundle, though, banned out again. We've seen Kongyue pick up the champion every once in a while. It does mean that the jungle pool can be targeted a little bit here on the side of AHQ. Like we mentioned, maybe try and get Kongyue on something that isn't such a high-impact champion. As now, for AHQ, do you want to still try and get rid of the support options for Wing? There's still a bunch of options Wing can still play. It's actually going to be his Bard that draws a ban.
I think one of the weakest performances we've seen in Kongyue is on the Jarvan. He played it twice, one on Resurgence and this second round robin, and one against Nova Esports, and both really sort of cornered Kongyue into that pick. And perhaps that's the plan for HKA, to sort of corner him into that J4 once again.
So So there we go. We'll see whether or not they decide to go with that, as Tarek is banned out. There's J4 available. There is also, say, like the Olaf, which Kong has also been known to be used to go aggressively. There you go.
That is true. Okay, yeah. It
Olaf.
has been working for early game teams, so that will be the pickup for AHQ. In the meantime, HKA, where are these lanes going? Where is this Tristana going if they do lock the Cassiopeia? And then I suppose that is an AD carry Tristana.
Could be still, again, maybe a little bit flexed. Oh, showing a gangplank, actually. Which also means, oh, are we getting a Poppy? And then where is the Ornn going is the other question now. Are we going to see an Ornn actually go down to support, and they're going to try and trade back the Poppy because they're afraid that the Callista is actually going to get ran into the Ornn? Is that their idea? Is that their reasoning behind this?
Oh, so it's an AD carry then? Oh, wait, no! Huh? I am very perplexed. Look at the smiles from HK. It's like, what are we doing?
All right, so we're going to see. Yeah, it's going to be a Tristana AD carry.
Mm-hmm, it is. Yeah, Tristana AD carry. For Jimian, he's going for the Echo, as it does fit his playstyle well. And then it's going to be a support Ornn, or it could be a support Poppy.
Could be a support Poppy. I think they were mainly trying to see whether or not AHQ were going to try and plan to run the Callista into it. So with the Kench being now shown, it's going to be AHQ that say, all right, you know what? Waco's just going to go onto the Callista. We're not going to try and do anything too fancy. And it's going to be a little bit more standard, I do feel.
Yordle bot lane for HK. It seems we're not seeing any switcheroos happening at the moment. HQ will still probably switch, unless...
No, it's going to be... Oh? Or are they?
Yeah.
Are they?
They're not switching.
Or is it going to be Uniboy? Oh, so they're going to try. Okay, so if this is correct and that's what we're seeing on our screen, I'm going to guess they're going to try and get the lane swap then for Uniboy to actually try and get into the Ornn matchup.
Yeah, that's true. Although we didn't really see the... you're right. We've seen lane swaps happen before, especially alpha games. They really like to swap their mid lane towards top, and it could happen again here.
Yeah, that looks like to be the plan. I don't know whether or not, though, you want to put a Maokai into the matchup into the mid lane against the Echo. We'll have to see. A little bit of a spice coming out here from AHQ. Of course, they're at the top of the standings. If they really wish to, they can try and experiment a little here during the regular season before they head into playoffs to see whether or not it's going to work out. HKA, though, got to find another victory here if they want to add a buffer between them and the bottom of the standings.
I am loving this last game for us tonight, and it's been a spicy day for today, especially that this is the third time we're going to be having a mage bot lane for the PCS.
On to the Rift we go for our final game. Interested, I wanted to see, you know, what the plan is here for this Tristana, and it's actually going to be Halo Blades, too. Which you're aiming for, you know, a quick explosive charge in lane, try and get a decent chunk of damage. Uniboy is going mid, so I don't think they're going to go for a wacky lane swap right away. And he's also gone exhaust, too.
It is perfect for the all-ins that Holo and Jimian are going to do in the mid lane. Although, it is going to be scary for the Callista, as I guess it will be up to the ward coverage to keep Uniboy safe, as well as the wave management to not be a little bit too extended, as, you know, Rek'Sai will be very scary during the early phases of the game.
Interesting, though, we are seeing the triple exhaust come out on the side of AHQ. This is actually a little bit weird because this has been actually popping up in some other regions, kind of like the LJL actually in particular has been spamming exhaust on their side, running 2 to 3 in some of their games. Especially when you're going up against, say, like a Tristan or something. Maybe you want to try and lock her down. Very close to being able to get the stun there onto the Syndra, but it doesn't work out.
Yeah, range wasn't enough, as it was just Very, very close. Yeah, it works well, especially considering the fact that everyone is just gonna dive on you. Taking a look at HKA, even though Eminem is an AD carry, normally we see a lot of aggressive rocket jumps be utilized as to start the stacks, as to start the explosives and the initial burst damage. So I suppose this triple exhaust will work out, especially considering HKA's all-in sort of composition.
And interesting too, we actually had Hollow that actually started toward the top side of the map on his Rek'Sai. Usually you see Rek'Sais start on the red buff. They can do both, but Rek'Sai doesn't actually need her blue buff to be effective. So that does kind of keep Hollow hidden within the shadows of the jungle. Not going to get spotted out here by AHQ up in top lane, though. A nice little trade there for 3Z as we get back to the good old days of the big boys up in top lane with a bunch of CC and a bunch of health.
That's true. It's a little bit of throwback from the all tanky top lane, but Kangye will get spotted by a ward here. I think this is pretty smart coming from HKA. It's a different approach for sure, as it will definitely sort of start differently, especially that you see that there are wards in that top side river. So if HKA does want to gank mid lane, he can go through that area, which is not warded at all.
Maybe looking for the path, but unfortunately, if you look toward bot lane, the bot side was pushed in pretty heavily. Eminem has decided to try and push that one in against Waco, and they're only starting to push back just now. So not going to be able to really find an opportunity. As I'm interested, I want to see where Kongya tries to strike on the map first, because Kongya has always been kind of that catalyst for the side of AHQ, where if he's able to get the ball rolling, usually the game gets out of control. If he doesn't make anything happen, though, it kind of becomes a stalled out game where AHQ then have to fall back onto their plan B, which is usually the late game scaling of their compositions.
And it definitely works well, because the big difference of the previous mage bot laners that we've seen so far in terms of comp, great damage, electrocute proc, is that they didn't have an AD carry to fall back on in case the mage bot lane didn't work. But this is totally different. We have Uniboy on this Kalista. So if this mage bot lane doesn't take advantage of their strength in the early phases of the game, then you have Uniboy to fall back on.
Well, yeah, for Uniboy, too, this is kind of a first for us, seeing him on the Kalista in mid lane. It's a first for us in the PCS entirely, seeing a mid lane Kalista. We have seen it played once or twice, I believe, in top side of the map into the Ornn. Usually, actually, a lot of the teams, like Alpha, they'll actually opt to just try and counter Ornn with the Vayne, which we saw earlier on in the day.
Yeah, I think it has the same sort of logic into the top side, where you play a lot of the AD carry against the melee matchup, and I think it has been surging in popularity. We've seen, you know, the Vayne, the Quinn being picked up at top side, even the Lucian, even Kai'Sa mid has been, I believe, quite popular in some regions in terms of like solo queue they've been using in the mid lane. So perhaps that is the approach here for AHQ.
No Kai'Sa here for us, but true. There is different options. I'm still waiting for us to see the AP Kai'Sa build, where you just get the massive cooldown reduction on your W because you upgrade it, and then it's like you just spam it like it's ARAM. But no teams decided to do that just yet. We are see, though, HKA with priority in mid lane, not actually being there. Their bot lane was able to push in. Kongya, though, is coming over toward the side. That's actually a force out a teleport from 3Z. Does the rest of AHQ actually want to go for this? It's a stolen away there. This is a nice steal. And Uniboy is able to grab Kongya and bring him back to safety.
That is perfect execution for AHQ. It's definitely a steal and run deal, as the Fate's Call will just drag Kongya back to safety. And with that, HKA will definitely be a little bit thrown off guard, especially that they were the ones who worked hard towards that Baron or Dragon take.
So there you go. AHQ were able to take it away, and that's impressive too. You're able to actually take that away from a Rek'Sai, as yeah, he just gets out smited right away. And Uniboy was able to bound him earlier and just brings him back to safety.
And that is definitely the option that Uniboy can do in terms of initiating a fight. So you pull in, if every Kongye decides to dive, you can just pull in Kongye to safety. And I want to talk about this bot lane a little bit more because of that Syndra pick. Eminem will be a little bit more wary of doing the aggressive rocket jump plays, mainly because of Wako's chain of skills will just be very easy for a easy stun and as well as unleashed power. So that's the reason why they can't really take advantage of this Tristana at this point in time.
And you're also running 2 exhausts, technically 3 on the side of AHQ. So even if you try and rocket jump in, you're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage for a pretty long time. On top of that, like, Eminem at least does have an exhaust of his own to try and have a little bit of safety. But there's, like, no heal that Wing is running because he's gone with the Ignite. They wanted to go for kills early. They just weren't able to find it. Meanwhile, there it is. First blood on the Syndra as Waco gets the unleashed power. And Eminem didn't even use Flash. He tried to get away with the rocket jump, but he just wasn't fast enough.
I want to know what happened, but that is the expected result. You did mention that Ignite was carried by Wing, therefore they really wanted to make this a kill lane, and it all due to the draft. They level 6, beautiful stun by Wako, and basically squishy AD carry means easy kill for Syndra after that combo. And now Kongye lurking around this top side in the map.
Maybe looking for it. Call the Forge God, though, instantly going to be popped, but it's on to an Olaf. Hollow Flash on forward. He's going to get the ultimate off, but he still gets taken on down. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Civ going to get knocked up. Ended up using his ultimate to try and disengage. He's a tanky boy. They're using everything over here.
Crazy.
Luckily, it's going to be still a trade of 2 for 2 as 3Z ends up taking 1 too many tower shots, and that's a lot burned for those 2 kills, and that's an early sign here of possibly what's more left to come here on the side of HKA.
Oh, that looks like not going to be another engage. But yeah, it's a 2 for 2 exchange with AHQ trading junglers and top laners against each other. Meanwhile, a very aggressive take by HKA, which is understandable because you have, you know, Jimien and the rest of the squad, Wing as well, nearby. And that's the reason why they wanted to pull that go signal. And unfortunately, 3Z tanked too much towers, so instead of a 1 for 2, it became a 2 for 2.
Meanwhile, we'll go back to this mid lane, though, and Uniboy's starting to farm up quite a storm, even with the Echo actually going up toward the top side of the map. It's still almost a 30 CS difference in that mid lane, so Jimnian at least getting the assist will help him out, but that does allow AHQ, with 5 members on the top side, to easily take down this Rift Herald, and I think the idea here is they're going to try and get Uniboy pretty much accelerated as fast as possible so he can start moving to different lanes and taking turret plates.
Very true. That will be the plan in mind. We've seen that before in, you know, these heavy AD mid laners that we've seen so far are either the Renekton mid. So that will be the plan in mind, especially that the common trend would be send it topside. But since that's a Maokai, you would rather invest more gold on damage items.
And unfortunately, too, because of the CS differences, even though it's only a 1 kill difference between the 2 squads, it's still almost a 2,000 gold lead solely due to the mid lane and bot lane CS differences.
And it has contributed a lot, mainly because of how much damage a Syndra can do against these squishies. And considering that you have a Poppy support, you don't have that Enchanter support to provide any sort of sustain in your lane. So it has been sort of a party for Wako to keep chipping Eminem in the bot lane.
And Wako actually able to pick up his GLP early on, so that early kill is going to just make the Syndra a little bit more scary, especially if Eminem is within range. Looks like, though, they're going to go ahead and try and shift them over in toward the mid lane and around this dragon area. As for AHQ, picking up a Cloud Drake, get some extra cooldown reduction onto the ultimates. Always nice to have. We'll see whether or not we get an Infernal or Mountain Soul for our final game of the night.
HQ, second dragon for themselves. Meanwhile, Eminem will definitely take advantage of, you know, how Tristana can easily chip off turret HP. And right now, that is the supposed weakness the bot lane of AHQ, not able to take as much towers as the Tristana. But again, you have the Olaf helping you out. You've got Uniboy, so problem solved for AHQ.
Yeah, and Rift Herald, Shelly's going to help them take the first tower of the game, and you saw 400 gold up onto that Syndra. It's going to hurt, as now that Syndra is just getting funneled gold off these towers, and unfortunately Eminem was just not able to actually take more than just the single turret plate up in top lane. It still has two, as Civ is there to actually clear out waves. He's a tanky Maokai as well. It's going to take a lot for Eminem to actually take him down. Uniboy's been kind of left alone to his own devices here in mid lane. Wing, though, is going to make an appearance. Unfortunately, can't really close the range there without the flash, as he would like to use the Steadfast Presence to interrupt Uniboy.
That's absolutely the plan in mind. And yeah, it is definitely, in terms of initiating fights, you will have to rely on either 3Z with the Ornhorn or perhaps Holo with either the knockup. Anything else would be used in terms of for sort of disengage, especially for the Poppy ult for later. And on the other side of the spectrum, AHQ is just very solid in their team fights and their laning phase. So we did mention how individually these players are stars, and this will really push HKA to start fights at a numbers advantage and not fight them head on.
Well, I'd like to see, though, AHQ, this early part of the game where they'd like to try and actually find some possible plays for themselves. I'd like to see them try to continue to accelerate the gold lead. It's now at 3,000. They're also going to start taking away some of the jungle and siphoning gold away from HKA. Because there is always that late game potential that you're going to have with this Tristana that's going to have the upgraded Ornn items. There's also going to be a decent ton of safety, as it's pretty hard to dive onto a Poppy, as she's going to be able to ult you away and keep the Tristana safe. It's going to be up to AHQ to try and end that game before it gets to that point.
Very true. And considering the fact that resets for Eminem as well on the Tristana will make it even more difficult to sort of catch that catch Eminem in these fights. So there's a little bit of safety here and there as well for the picks that HKA. They're a little bit slippery, but at the same time, I guess the most vulnerable is 3Z, but he's a Norn. He will get tankier as the game progresses.
He gets tanky. He's getting to be that big boy, and he's also plenty of CC in his kit with Call of the Forge God, as well as the charge onto any terrain. Waco just goes up toward the top side once again. Just going to clear out waves, continue to farm. Still has that 30 CS advantage, and with Uniboy nearby, turret plating is down, so with that exposed tower, Hong Kong Attitude might need to be careful. Eminem, if he steps too far forward, he might get punished, as Uniboy, Kongya also nearby. 4 members, Wicco, forced to actually get the ultimate out, and that gets a stopwatch out of the Poppy. Wako did take a decent chunk of damage from the tower, so he's got to be careful, as Eminem could look for the jump.
Yeah, the jump, the assassination, the jump in, jump out kind of play style of Tristana. But in the meantime, though, Ziv will be alone here with this 3Z. But looks like 3Z will be able to defend that tower.
So 3Z keeps that tower nice and clear. Uniboy, though, continues to farm up. Now has that Bork completed, as well as his Berserker Greaves. So he's going to have a couple more attack speed items come online here shortly. Meanwhile, Infernal will be spawning in about 40 seconds as AHQ look to try and clear out vision and secure Scuttle.
AHQ, once again, have a lot of control over the map. And we did mention that it is about the numbers advantage, since individually speaking, AHQ has the upper hand with these matchups, and that's the reason why you see Jim Yen carrying that teleport just in case AHQ decides to start a fight, or do they want to catch AHQ by surprise?
Well, in order to get them by surprise, you need to get that vision on down, and AHQ, they've been fine just getting at least the ward coverage in the river. Not a whole lot of defensive ward coverage, but they're the ones that have been pressing forward, so maybe it'd be best for AHQ to try and get some deep vision into HKA's jungle.
That could be the plan in mind, as HKA. Holo here will lurk around this area, as we see that the Infernal Drake has spawned already, but as the wards has been placed, AHQ is just clearing them out.
Well, HQ, with that Callista, it's hard to take away any of these neutral objectives for a steal, as the double smite, you could say, the smite from Kongya as well as the Rend is able to secure the Infernal. And now AHQ are looking at Infernal Soul at 21 minutes unless Hong Kong Attitude are able to stop them. And even then, it's not enough as Uniboy able to find the kill. And Kongya now looking for the dive underneath the tower. The axes, he can't be stopped. He goes invincible, brought back into the fight, and it's a double kill for the Olaf.
What a clean dive from AHQ, and now they've got 3 more kills on their side. Rift Herald is open for the taking for this team. Let's take a look at that again. So Eminem just gets stunned by Wako here, and the Rend will finish off the kill. And meanwhile, Kongya just presses R, dashes in. If the turret is just too dangerous, you Fates call in, Fates call out.
There you go. A nice dive coming out from AHQ. Lands them also the second Rift Herald of the game. They can use that to crack open some more towers. And it seems like AHQ have an understanding of what they want to try and accomplish, try and force these dives if anyone gets caught out, and try and knock down towers. And then I think once they get the Infernal, that's when we're going to really start seeing them look for these larger team fights before the Tristana scales up.
Exactly, and with AHQ being quite ahead, as 3Z is just going to poke Ziv a little bit. He's quite near his own tower, and a lot of HP for Ziv.
Yeah, Civ is pretty fine, but now with 4 members and 3Z actually missing out on his dash, that's going to force Hollow to actually get back on out. Call the Forge God also going to be here. Yasiro is looking to save his poor tree. Fortunately, he didn't use his flash, so wasn't able to get Civ to safety, as HKA are going to be able to at least trade back another tower in bot lane and equal out that count 2-2. Top lane, though, they might be looking for a dive, and we've seen this combo before. Never mind, just pop the Rift Herald, and they just look to try and siege in the tower before Jimian's able to do anything.
And with that, Jimian,
he's got no tower. He's got to use the Chrono Break if he wants to get back to safety. He tries to go back and onto Shelly. Unfortunately, though, he's going to continue to get slowed. The Ren stacks are just going to pop him here in a sec. And one more auto, one more axe from Kongya. Will able to be finding the kill. On top of that, another charge from Shelly. Gets some damage onto the second tier tower.
A lot of value off of that Rift Herald, despite Jimian trying his best, even hitting the eye from behind of the Herald. And at that point, it was, again, a lot of value from AHQ after a kill. And now even a tower, and as well as immense damage on that inner tower at the top side of the map. Wako finding more of these stuns.
If Wing's not careful, he'll get taken down. Just gets a little bit of safety in between him and Wako. Was only one auto attack away from taking down the poor Poppy, as the Poppy's going to scuttle on back to the fountain. And that's the danger here. Without the without that exhaust, that Syndra's going to do a ton of damage.
Exactly, and that is definitely the scary part. So Eminem would be expected to stick around Wing just in case, as that is the only exhaust that they have, so that they can sort of mitigate the damage coming from all the spheres, and as well as the Syndra ult coming from Wako. And again, because of the because of multiple exhausts, it's definitely difficult for HKA to just try and dive in.
And you saw that gold graph there? That's not a pretty sight if you're on the side of HKA. All 3 carries of AHQ at the top of the gold ranking. And that Tristana Eminem was actually, I think, 2nd or 3rd on her team. So it's still a little while before she starts scaling up, as, again, AHQ not looking to slow down here. Isira able to get the slow. You also got the Syndra coming around the corner, going to be able to use the Scatter of the Weak to find themselves a quick stun, and unfortunately Wing is going to get taken down. Uniboy finds his 2nd kill of the game. AHQ with that too. They're able to set up for Infernal Soul. HKA, this is kind of a last stand opportunity, because if Soul does go over to AHQ, it makes holding out this game extremely difficult.
And that has been the go-to play style of HKA as they've developed their identity in the PCS. And it seems to be that HQ has adapted throughout the PCS and can swift or shift styles here and there, either slow or just try to counter you with early game aggression, and that seems to be the play in mind for this team.
There you go. Dragon has spawned. AHQ trying to hold out, but you can see HKA are trying to stop them from advancing, but unfortunately there's just so much poke coming out here that unfortunately HKA have to back off. It's a 5,000 gold lead for AHQ at the moment. Uniboy's going to come back on over, and like I mentioned, it is extremely hard to steal away objectives against the Kalista. AHQ bring it outside the pit. HKA maybe going for a pincer. Jimmy's over there towards the side. Hollow wants to try and make a play happen. It's going to go on over, and Soul is obtained here for AHQ, and for HKA, it might not be the best to try and stick around here. Kongya able to get some damage. 3Z with a massive knockup, but this Echo is trying to survive on the back end of the fight. Waco just holding on to his ultimate, waiting for Jimmian to use the chrono break. It doesn't work though, and that's 3 members taken down here from HKA as AHQ now with Soul can look to position themselves toward the top half of the map.
That is going to be the plan for AHQ. Let's take a look at that again. So HQ managed to steal the deal on this Dragon. Jimmian, unfortunately, HQ just walked away from that parallel convergence, so Jimmian had to wait for a few cooldowns just to initiate the fight again, because parallel convergence will be a safety net. If not, chrono break will. But at that point, Wacko, very patient, just sidestep a few things here and there, managed to eliminate Jimmian.
And with that, it's Baron taken rather easily because you do have a Kalista with Bork already completed. Has that additional Ren stack available for the smite. On top of that, because they have Infernal Soul, it helps them do extra damage, and this is the time for AHQ to start knocking down towers, knock open an inhibitor. In HKA, it's whether or not they can weather the storm.
And that is the difficult part. I mean, you do have a good amount of wave clear in the form of Tristana and as well as Echo, but at the same time, you might put yourself at risk towards an engage coming from AHQ. They are at that point of the game where they will be comfy entering these fights without hesitation whatsoever. Wacko, though.
Meanwhile, Yasura, he's coming on over. He gets spotted out here. He's going to get stunned, able to get over the wall. And in comes the Rek'Sai over there. There you go. It's going to be also a teleport coming out here from HKA. Let's see those Civ and Kongya, they're feeling confident. They also have Uniboy over there toward the side, and in comes Jinium trying to actually get the kill, but no, he's not able to. The kill goes on over to Uniboy. It's a double kill as the Ren stacks are propping, and unfortunately HKA, they may have the numbers advantage, but they just look so out of place here. It's a triple kill for Uniboy, and they're hunting for more.
3Z. Oh no.
You can run all you want. He'll fall, and Uniboy with that will pick up the ace in favor of AHQ, and with a bot lane this big on top of the minions, this should be the inhibitor.
Yeah, the AHQ was just so far ahead, so despite the numbers advantage coming from HKA, positioning-wise, they were sort of cornered there at that river area, and now a lot of death timers on towards HKA. AHQ has more room to take away this inhibitor.
And bot lane inhibitor will fall 25.5 minutes. Hong Kong attitude. Question becomes, can they hold on? It's an 11,000 gold lead. It starts off what looks to be a good catch onto Yasura, but AHQ, they're not scared.
Not at all. That is the support eliminated for AHQ. And now they do have the numbers advantage. Position advantage, though. It actually stopped 3Z from joining the fight, so he calls the Oran Horn now. Parallel convergence, or chrono break rather, didn't do a lot of damage. So you can tell how far ahead AHQ is in the match. And at this point, it is 3Z sort of trying to escape, but HQ is just too much for the lockdowns. Oh, even chases the route over towards 3Z.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, 3Z's got nowhere left to run. It's the ace. And it's still now Baron buff coming to a close. It was what looked to be a 5,000 Baron buff. HK, they're going to try it again. It worked in bot lane, but behold, Civ, he's got saplings. And he's going to catch them out. So 4 to 16 the kill count. There's now Elder Drake also in 2 minutes. This is becoming a disgusting display from AHQ, knowing, hey, we can end this game, we can go for it, as they now look to siege in onto the second inhibitor of HKA's Bage.
Yeah, and right now, HKA, this could potentially be their last stand. If someone falls, there's the flank.
Gets the knock-up from the Poppy, but he doesn't land the knock-up from the Call of the Forge God. It's a massive whiff on the ultimate, and that will be the nail in the coffin for the fight, as without that, there's not a whole lot HKA can really do. And the inhibitor's going to fall. They can keep on pressuring here. They have the Infernal Soul. They just push in so fast that Hong Kong Attitude, they had to make a stand a couple minutes ago, but it's way too late. HQ have been able to scale into this mid-game. They're not going to let the Tristana scale to our late game. And HQ look to remain at the top of the standings. And Hong Kong Attitude, they're running out of games here to get themselves that dreadful 7 win to provide them the safety they need to get into playoffs. HQ, though, look to try and tie up the top of the standings and challenge Machi for first place.
What a game for AHQ. It seems like, again, they played very straightforward. They had winning lanes all over, and that enabled them to just sort of run all over the place. And meanwhile, for HKA, unfortunately, they were never given a chance after a few minutes to just sort of let this Tristana take off.
Yeah, you got to kind of see there that AHQ, they know when they need to end the game, luckily. Any other team, I could see them kind of messing around and, you know, maybe not trying to shut down HKA right away, but it's AHQ. They're at the top of the standings. It's pretty clear that when you kind of give them this ultimatum that's like, hey, you need to fight in X amount of time or else this Tristana is going to scale back up, well, AHQ, they're happy to do that.
And the thing is, this mage bot lane really, really worked, as it really gave Eminem a hard time at the bottom side of the map. And, you know, the jungler wasn't, Kongi was not even needed there at bot, and Wako could hold on his own. And with that said, HKA did not relieve pressure back. So at this point, it just defaults to their old playstyle of waiting for objectives later and hoping for the best that they can scale later into the game.
Yeah, well, again, they didn't really have an opportunity, and even when they tried to take fights, it was very messy, especially that bot lane fight that we saw from HK where they were able to catch out the Kench. They got kind of overconfident, and at that point, they used all their ultimates onto the support, and they still thought they could go for the fight, but then they were all over the place, all different places. They thought, hey, we can catch out this member, or hey, we're going to catch out this member, and they spread the resources too thin.
Well, let's take a look at this fight right here. This was Eminem rocket jumping, not forward, but on towards the lane. So this puts you in range of Univoy. And I do understand why that was the direction of the rocket jump, because there was not a lot of vision towards the opposite river. Therefore, you had a 50-50 chance of encountering another member of HQ if you rocket jump forward.
And with that, that is our final game of the night. So we'll give you a quick update at the top of the table. It was Alpha taking on J-Team, and they were able to pick up the victory. Talon was able to pick up their victory over Verjaya. Alpha did fall in Resurgence. The dream is still alive for playoffs. Machi and AHQ, though, both able to take down Hong Kong Attitude.
I am so excited for Resurgence. This is one of those things on where they've always had it in them. It's just that it just sort of popped off during the last few moments of the round robin. It's, you know, as a big fan of the LST, I'm absolutely proud to see them grow in this tournament.
Yeah, and for you Liab fans at home and Nova fans, unfortunately, again, we were not able to show the match between them due to, again, tech issues, I believe, at Liab's venue. So we are hopefully going to be able to play out their matches before the end of the upcoming weekend, but do be sure to tune in to, again, our YouTube, our Twitch, or the Facebook page. Hell, you can even follow me and Riku on Twitter. We update PCS when we can, and we'll hopefully be able to tell you the new times for all these Liab matches, but there is a possibility that they're going to have to play a gauntlet of a day coming next weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be a marathon of games, definitely, for Liab when the time comes.
Let's take a look toward the standings. Machi still at the top of the table, and the top 5 teams you actually see have already been locked into playoffs, but we do start to see the beginning of that dreadful 3 to 4-way tie for 7th place, in which we could have mayhem ensue, where if Liab is only able to pick up 1 victory and HKA and J-Team also fall in all their games, we have a 3-way tie along with Resurgence if they're able to claim the 2 victories left for them.
That's true. RSG still have, I believe, 2 games or 1 game left for next week, and I can't actually believe that we're already almost at the end of the regular season. There's just 1 more day after tonight.
Yeah, 1 more scheduled day. We could have possibly 2, as we'll have to figure out a time to, of course, play out the Liab games. And like we said, be sure to follow the PCS so you guys can keep up to date with those, because again, not a whole lot gets decided until those Liab games get played out. And in particular, too, like Nova is still undecided. Nova could also drop into this 5-way tie for 6th to 7th place. Nothing has been locked in past 5th when it comes to the standings, and matchups next week. It's going to be 2 back-to-back games for Resurgence. Liab, they were able to take home the victory before, but Talon is the big limiting factor on whether or not they even have an opportunity to play for the playoffs.
Yep, and meanwhile, we do still have, yeah, that's correct, 2 Resurgence games, and meanwhile, Talon also have 2 games that day, and meanwhile, HKA has 1 more game left to play, and that will be another against another Titan team.
Yeah, and then we also have, you know, J-Team finishing off, like you said, up against Machi, which Machi, they're looking to finish off their split cleanly, and if they are able to, they'll be at the top of the standings, locked in for 1st place. So all is looking good here, but now the teams have to reset over the next couple of days, and they have to look forward to some of the playoffs. If you're in the top 5, you can start formulating some of your strategies, but if you're still in that bottom 5, anything can happen on this final 2 days.
That's true. I think the trend for the PCS so far has been a lot of plot twists here and there, but looking at the preseason prediction rankings, and then now that the rankings have solidified for the actual PCS performances, it seems to be quite the expected result. But well, again, anything can happen. Anything
can happen, and you guys will be able to tune in next Saturday is the planned schedule. Be sure to watch the PCS so you guys can see which teams are making playoffs and which teams are going to be going home. From myself and the rest of the production team, we'll catch you later.